G'day, I'm Adam. 5 years ago in August 2015, I started a journey that changed my career. I was working in San Francisco for an early stage startup called Scoop. I was employee number 8. So you can imagine I wore multiple hats, from marketing to sales to support and even onboarding new employees. Within a short amount of time, our company grew to around 24 employees. And at that time, I was asked to focus solely on people operations, which included talent acquisition, as we've never had anyone to solely focus on the experience our candidates and employees were having. The question was, where should I start? Often I speak to incredible people in talent who are looking to show added value to their business, or perhaps have been on a hiring freeze and wanted to start to expand their own knowledge of people and talent strategies, or even been asked to buy leadership to step up and think through their overall employee experience. This can be daunting, to say the least, if you haven't ever done it before. When I started focusing on people operations, my first move was to answer the question, what's our people strategy, and how can we create meaningful people programs that help withstand the exciting growth period we were about to have? That seems like a pretty big question to answer, right? Well, I want to give you a snapshot of what this could look like in your business and what steps you need to go through to plan it out. If you or any of your colleagues, friends, family, dog groomers, or personal chefs want to delve deeper into any topic, please don't hesitate to contact me. My details will be at the end of this video. All right, let's get into it. Someone once told me when you start in a new company or pivot jobs within a company, that time is the best time to do your research and planning, as you'll probably never get that time to focus on the core problems and needs in your business again. That doesn't ring truer than ever for when we start to think about meaningful people programs. So what steps do we need to take to create that meaningful people strategy? In my experience, it looks a little like this. Understand your business. Secondly, sketch out your employee lifecycle. And last but not least, sell it to the business and get them to say yes. Let's delve a little into each of these. Whenever I start in a new business, one of the first things I do is talk to our people. This is by far one of the most important steps to a successful people strategy. The better you know the business, the better you can find the flaws. Look for the stones that people haven't looked under yet. Ask the tough questions to your team members. Think of it as building the foundations of a house. The stronger the foundation, the stronger the house. It could be as easy as asking, how would you describe working at Pied Piper to mates at a barbecue? Or, can you describe your onboarding experience? What was that like? This can give you an understanding of the interactions they've had with their manager, their team, and the business as a whole. Make sure to get a good cut of team members, ranging in different tenures, positions, and work types. Next, sketch out your employee lifecycle. Now that you've got all the information you need to understand the business, it's time to put pen to paper. Figuratively speaking, of course. Don't skimp on any details either. For example, you might list something as phone screen. Okay, but what does that look like? Is there a structure there? If it feels vague, there are probably inefficiencies buried beneath that stone. In my time of doing sales and marketing, one of the key things I learned was to really understand the customer experience, you need to draw out all of the interactions that customers might have with you. Whether it's an email blast or a customer meetup or even a phone call to check in, each touch point should enable you to really connect with your customers. This is exactly the same as when we are planning our people programs. There are 3 questions we should be answering when forming our employee lifecycle. They are, what are we trying to solve? What format of touch point do we need? And how do we track effectiveness? You might be asking, what can an employee lifecycle look like? Well, it could look a little like this. Or this, or even this. No matter what it might look like, the key to planning a successful employee lifecycle is to think about all the touch points that an employee might have throughout their time within your company. Starting from that initial reach out to see if they might be interested in joining, to them starting with you, to finishing their first 30 to 60 days onboarding, and lastly, to leaving the company. Hopefully this never happens though. You have to do what works for you, and that can sometimes take a lot of time back and forth, because once you think you've got it perfect, there will always be a better way to do it. Having that mindset means your employee lifecycle and people strategy won't be left behind as other companies get ahead. I usually split my timeline into 5 to 6 sections. First section is candidate experience. What do all the touch points look like within your candidate experience? I'm sure you've done this before. However, incorporating into your overall employee lifecycle shows the bigger picture to the business and could potentially align your candidate experience with your employee experience more effectively. Next, accept and congrats. Offer to day one. Congrats, you've successfully recruited someone. Now it's time to really understand the needs of your new team member. Office preferences, benefits. Also, it's time to get that new team member excited about starting with you. It's crucial that you prepare this new team member with what is expected on their day one. This could be a quick phone call after accepting their offer to check in and see how they're doing. Next, onboarding. Day 1 to roughly around day 30. You've probably seen the stats. Research from Glassdoor found that by creating a great employee onboarding program, we can improve employee retention by 82%. Most companies focus on the first week for onboarding. This can be incredibly stressful for your new team member and their manager. I always like to span out onboarding over at least 4 weeks. It allows time for your new team members to integrate within the company, as well as learn at a steady pace. As you start to fill in all the touch points within your onboarding timeline, make sure to incorporate these key initiatives, clear and achievable goals and priorities to define success. This can be done by working closely with their new manager. Create a solid understanding of your product, understand their team's workflow, tools, styles, and processes, and most importantly, give them as many opportunities to get to know the team and the broad organization as possible. Don't be scared to empower managers to get involved with their new team members. In some cases, you might want them to lead the onboarding for their new starter. It's the best way to scale any people initiative. Next, foundations. This roughly goes from day 30 to day 90. The foundations part of your timeline should be focused on key team member retention activities. You will need to establish consistent checkpoints between managers and new team members to ensure they're on track and provide consistent feedback while creating opportunities to develop and sharpen key skills. This can be achieved by splitting your timeline of interactions into 2 separate timelines, one for the team member and one for the manager. Each point should be made clear whether the employee is on track to be successful within their role, and if not, course correct to ensure the team member gets on track. Some of these initiatives could include onboarding evaluations, training sessions around key skills needed across the business, such as having a great one-on-one, or even communications to keep your team members engaged in the culture, vision, and mission of your company. Last but not least is continued development. This is really day 90 plus. A lot of the information to help you build this part of your timeline out can come from your research phase. We should always be trying to answer the question, how can we enable managers and the people team to mentor team members to be successful in their current role and future roles within the company? What are the top sessions or development opportunities that employees need or want? These could include Excel fundamentals, presentation skills, personal goal setting, or even interviewing skills. Some of these sessions or communications might be scheduled when there is a major people program being rolled out. For instance, as part of your timeline, you might have a professional development review. And in that time, we might want to run a session on delivering effective feedback to make sure that each team member and their manager is getting the most out of their feedback cycle. As we start to plan out our employee lifecycle, you should try and use as many tools as you can. This can enable you to check which ones work better than the others for different initiatives. Tools could include weekly emails, manager check-ins, lunchtime training sessions, happy hour drinks, or surveys. At each touch point, we should make sure we are documenting which tool is for what, and it will help when we start to formulate each initiative. You might also want to start to think about automating some of your communications so that you can spend more time checking in and being with your team members. Now it's time to sell it to the business and get them to say yes. I get it. It looks like a lot of work and perhaps too much too soon. It's all about finding the balance between what needs to get done today and what can be delayed for later. I thought the same thing when I started it back in 2015. However, it enabled me to really start to section out my people strategy and understand what really needs to get done. It also was a great springboard for conversations with other team members and leadership to sell in what I believed was the best possible employee experience. You might not get it right the first time, but that's okay. Selling it to the business that you have spent the time to think through each part of the employee lifecycle will show that you have done your research, understood what was needed from your team members, and thoroughly created people programs to support the growth in the future. Today, I wanted to share with you my experience of starting something new and exciting. It's a journey, hopefully a long and fruitful one. If you have the time and space to be able to think through each part of the employee lifecycle, it will enable you to not only better understand the business, but show added value to what you can bring in every day you come to work. Looking forward to hearing from you, and thanks for watching.